Guys, welcome back to Iris After Hours. We have got an amazing show today because of our amazing guests, Phillip and Joy Attmore. These guys are legends in this town, legends in America, actually, and worldwide, I must say. Phillip and Joy. Joy is author of Broken by Beauty, which is an amazing book on the healing journey sexually for people coming out of who have been exploited in sexual stuff.
Yep.
And Phillip is incredible. How do I describe you, Phillip? Dancer, singer, actor, extraordinaire, Broadway, current Broadway actor. You also write spoken word, unbelievable. I saw him perform at Expression like 7 years ago in the city, do a spoken word performance. It was unbelievable. But guys, and they love Jesus.
Yes, we do.
They love Jesus with all their hearts. These guys are the real deal. And so I'm so excited to have you on the show today just to talk about your lives and everything that's been happening.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I don't even know where to start. Let's start with God. Let's start with God.
Yes.
How has God, or where has God been showing up lately in what you're doing? Oh, that could be internally, externally, whatever.
Yeah, I love
personally
that.
Or, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Babe?
You know, okay, I'm going to share a conversation. I just had over lunch, actually, with Carissa. So we were talking about home, and she asked me the question, how have you learned how to remain or create home wherever you go? Because a little insight into our past year and a half, like Phillip and I have been traveling around a lot.
Yeah.
I'm originally from the UK, so Phillip's from Pasadena.
Come on, right here.
Right here.
Homegrown.
This
Walking
is his
distance from
homeland.
here. Yeah. Yeah.
So naturally, like there's travel in us.
Yes.
But the past year we lived in Chicago for a little bit. We are based in New York most of the time, but we spent our summer in Europe with my family. We're in LA right now. So there's been a lot of transition.
Yeah.
And which is awesome. There's so much, so many exciting things that happen when you have the freedom to travel and move. But the consistency of home gets disrupted, right? When you're moving around. And so she was asking me, how do you find consistency of home as you're moving around? So, like, you know, as I was processing this thought with her, I was like, well, I think something that we have learned a lot in the past 18 months, which has been both a challenge, but also something that I think we've found victory too, in, is how to find our home in God and find contentment in the midst of disruption, in the midst of disappointment, in the midst of transition, in the midst of things not looking the way that we planned or expected them to look for this season. The challenge, and I think what we've also found victory in is establishing our home in God.
Yeah.
And that our peace and our place of steadfastness comes in Him. And so when we have that secure, we're able to gain the most out of the season of transition that we're in. So I think that would be an answer to your question. The thing that I have learned a lot, now something I was saying to Carissa too, is that comparison feeds disappointment.
Oh my gosh, doesn't it ever?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's the
discontentment.
worst.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I think there have been times that I've learned in this season too, that to close the door of comparison, because that will only lead to discontentment. You know, it will make you think about, oh, I don't have this right now. My life doesn't look like that. You know, but when we have ourselves rooted in God, we have a place of stability in Him. We have contentment in Him. And it closes the door of discontent, you know. So that would be my answer to that, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun. To give some context, about a year and a half ago, we had just moved into an apartment in New York City, and there were literally about 7 things that happened in a period of time, one of which included moving into a new place. And through a series of crazy circumstances, we were only in that apartment for 2 weeks before we had to move out suddenly.
Oh my gosh.
It was such a crazy circumstance. And so just to tag along to what my wife was saying, when we moved into the apartment, there were lots of things that had to get done, and lots of things that we had to get in order in terms of painting and investing money in the place. And
this is in New York?
This is in New York City. So
is there hardware stores in New York?
Yeah, so you have Home Depot. You actually have a lot of this. Yeah. There's
got several levels?
It does
it go up?
Oh yeah, it's built up for sure. Yeah, it's pretty vast as well for Manhattan, you know. So yeah, we were, you know, I was getting stuff.
I want to do that. I want to get a Home Depot in Manhattan, man.
Bro, Home Depot. It is actually one of the funnest things you can do. Container Store and Home Depot.
In Philip's book.
In my book, yeah. But yeah, so we moved into this place, and as I said, there were good and bad, like about 7 major events that happened, including the Tony Awards and my birthday and other.
And I
was on the Tony Awards.
And did you get one that year?
Well, Hello Dolly won. I was doing Hello Dolly.
And so you show you were in one.
Exactly. The show I was in with Bette Midler. So I was doing Hello Dolly with Bette Midler at the time. And it was amazing. I mean, that's what I do for a living. I Broadway and film, the whole shebang. And so we moved into this place. And when I moved in, I was, a bit overwhelmed, sitting on the floor about 3 a.m. And one of the things that I felt God say to me was, Philip, this is my home. And I said, okay, well, I should probably get up and paint. And Joy was on the other side of town resting, and I was, there kind of preparing a home for us. And so I got up and painted. And about 2 weeks later, as I said, through a series of crazy circumstances, we actually had to suddenly move out of this apartment. And so I am now in this bookend experience, packing things up after packing things down and getting ready to put our stuff in storage. And again, about 3 a.m, I feel God say, Philip, this is my home. And at this point, I just said, what?
He said this again. He repeated it.
He repeated it. And he said, the Attmore home is my home. And he said, Philip, and he said, Philip, I have moved in with you, but have you moved in with me?
Whoa.
He's like, you know me as Savior, but do you know me as home?
Whoa.
And that was the beginning of this season of mobility for us, in terms of, the end of a season where we had been planted in New York City for a long period of time since we had gotten married, and the beginning of us kind of being uprooted in the midst of loss, but also in the midst of God beginning to pour fresh vision into us.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because as the performer, I really want to be able to sing praises for all of the good things and all of the amazing things that have been happening, which we will. But I love that you start with, what has God been showing you? Because it's actually a vulnerable place that we're in, but it's been incredible, because we have been learning what it means to be at home in God. Wow. And so from that moment, we were in New York for a bit, went to Chicago, and I was starring in a production of 42nd Street there.
42nd Street.
Yeah. And then we came back to New York City this January, and we're there for about 4 months. We go to Liberty Church in New York City and are active there. And we knew 2 things: that we were going to be speaking at the Bethel School of Creativity in May, and that we were going to Joy's youngest brother's wedding. And
in England?
In England, yeah. And
when's that?
That was this summer.
Oh, so you...
So this year has been such a crazy year of adventure and moving around and just understanding what it is to be at home in God. And for me, the secret place, no matter what is going on, the secret place is the most consistent place for me, and finding God in the secret place. And I had this amazing encounter when I was in Edinburgh, Scotland this summer, because we spent the whole summer in the UK.
No way. And is that when the festival was?
That's when the Fringe Festival was in Scotland.
The famous Edinburgh Festival.
Oh, it's incredible, yeah. And so we had 2 weddings, Joy's youngest brother and her cousin in England, and we also officiated a wedding in Norway.
You married someone?
Oh, yeah, we did. And it was our first time, both together and separately.
It's fun, isn't it?
I've
done it twice.
Oh my gosh,
it was so fun, isn't it?
It was so much fun. But I had this incredible encounter when I was in
These guys
Edinburgh.
are available for waiting to go to tight schedule.
Yes, we are.
If you want someone to... Sorry.
So, no, you're fine. No, but Edinburgh has always been a place for me that I love to just go and just get lost. It's a secret place for me. Physically and spiritually, I love to just go and talk to God there. It's always been a place that inspires me creatively, but also just in terms of intimacy with God. And one of my life scriptures is Psalm 25:14. It says, I'm paraphrasing, but there's a private place for the lovers of God where they can sit and reflect on the revelation secrets of his promises. And so I had
the Revelation
secrets of his promises. That's the Passion Translation.
Whoa.
And so I had a moment. I got up early, and I had planned the day that I was going to sit in this place called the Meadows in Edinburgh, which is basically just this. It's like the Central Park of Edinburgh, Scotland.
Yeah, right,
on
right.
the other side of the castle. Yes, the castle. And
that's the big one.
Exactly.
Big
Yeah,
one.
that's the big castle. So anyway, I had this moment where I was sitting in one of my favorite spots for lunch. And I was, going to spend some time doing some Bible reading and then go and get lost in the meadows. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, a friend of mine pops up, a name pops up, my friend Jen. She wouldn't mind my saying her name. And so I was like, oh, Jen. We had gone to Bethel together,
okay,
the Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry.
Yeah, what year were you there?
I was 2010, 2011 year.
Wow.
Yeah. And so she pops up in my brain. I said, oh, let me look her up. And so first I went on my phone just to see if I could text her. She's from Scotland originally, but 5 hours north. So there's no reason she would be in Edinburgh at all. And so I looked her up, and I only had her number for when she was in Reading. So had no way of contacting her. Looked on Facebook to see if I could shoot her a message, but there was horrible service. So I didn't have Wi-Fi. And so I thought, oh, well, I guess I'll just send Jen Hill a message some other time and let her know that, I was thinking of her. And so I was doing something random. I was looking for like a water bottle or something like that, something random like that. I left that place for lunch, and about 20 minutes down the road, I walk into this pharmacy, and lo and behold, I walk in and I hear Phillip Attmore. And I look, and through the door is my friend Jen Hill.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
and I've had moments where I someone
ridiculous.
pops into my brain. Yeah. And I text them, I say, hey, are you in this city? But never a moment where they pop into my brain. They could be anywhere in the world, and then we just,
Oh my gosh, that's just too random.
Oh, it was, yeah.
It was too random.
It was incredible. And so, the funny thing was that she had lost her yellow fever slip because she was getting ready to go on a mission trip the next day.
Oh, yellow fever, yeah. You go to some pretty.
She was getting ready to go to
some pretty funky places if you're going to get a yellow fever shot.
Yeah, she was getting ready to go on a mission trip, and there was no reason why she should have been in Edinburgh, Scotland, and she was 5 hours south of where she normally is. Happened to go into this pharmacy just to get a checkup. The door is normally supposed to be closed. It was wide open. And I walk in, and she calls my name out.
What are the chances?
Oh, my goodness. And then we just start freaking out. I showed her my phone. I said, I was literally looking you up to see if I could contact you 20 minutes ago. And it was just a moment where it was just a kiss from God, a kiss from the Father.
Absolutely.
Of just, I really firmly believe that as you invest in the secret place, God manifests his presence and his promises in just really strange but beautiful ways, just to let you know he's with you in those moments of transition. I feel like I'm supposed to speak to you on the subject of where you are, God is with you.
Whoa,
he's right in the midst. And,
yes.
When you're in seasons of transition, and this is speaking as an artist, I've won awards, been on Broadway, been in film and TV and stuff like that. But I think both in the prophetic culture and in entertainment, we live for the mountaintop experiences.
Yeah.
But I firmly believe as an artist and as a creative people, that we're to be process and presence driven as opposed to results driven.
Whoa.
Because as you journey with God and as you engage with God in the secret place, it will dictate what manifests in the everyday life and on the mountaintop. And when you are in the valleys, that's where his streams flow. And that's where his presence
T-shirt,
is.
hang on. Somebody
needs to
in
hear
the
that.
valleys, the streams flow.
In the valleys, the streams flow.
Come on, put it on a T-shirt and
yeah.
send it to me.
Yeah, and so, don't live for the mountaintop, live for the presence.
Whoa.
Because God is with you in your journey wherever you are. And so that's just only because Nathan asked such a great question. What is God doing right now, as opposed to what's your testimony? Sometimes we want to live in a place where we want to be able to first champion the victories, but sometimes you're in a place of the in-between, but God is with you.
Whoa, that's
and we
such
do
a
have
good word.
Yeah, we both have incredible, we have incredible testimonies to share, but I think the most important thing is to know that the secret place is your life source wherever you go. Like that, you know, and once God brings you to a secret place, you can go there over and over and over again in the Spirit, and it is life, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did your secret place look like? I'm just curious.
I love that. Well, I have a few. I can talk about my first ever like open vision encounter that wrecked me for life.
Whoa.
And that was it was in a time when my father had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He had been given 2 to 3 months to live, and he was 75. And it was actually on the William Carey campus. I was on staff at Mosaic Church for a season, and the office space became my prayer closet.
So how old was your dad when you were born?
He was 52. So I was a surprise.
So yeah.
You were surprised?
I'm 51.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, that's right.
And my boy's going to be born next year. So I'll be 52 the year that he's born.
Oh my God.
So he'll be born, then I'll turn 52.
Oh my gosh, that's just like us.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I was exactly. So when your son's born, it will be the exact age gap. And so it was 52 years between me and my dad. So when he was diagnosed, my prayer was, Father, I want you to heal my dad, not that he would just live longer, but that he would know the fullness of your love. And that was my prayer night after night, just praying in the offices of William Carey, spending the night in the offices. I see it as a great benefit to live walking distance from this place. And so in that season, I actually went to Bethel for the first time with some friends. And during the worship, I closed my eyes and I woke up, and I don't know how else to explain it, but I found myself in the midst of a tomb. And I'm now walking along the dirt floors and the rock walls of this tomb, frigid cold air and everything. And
Cold
again,
air, cold air.
cold air. Like I felt the environment, saw everything in front of me, and had no paradigm for what was happening because I'd never experienced this before. And so I walk into another wide open space, and in the center of this wide open space, there was a stone slab. And on top of the stone slab, there was a man who was laying there dead like this. And I looked a little bit closer, and this man had a white wrap around his waist, dried blood on his hands and body, and a crown of thorns. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's Jesus. But he was dead, you know? So, you know, again, just like, what is happening? You know? And so I walked a little bit closer, and he was dead. And then he was hit with this violent breath, like the resurrection breath.
Whoa.
And he starts convulsing to life. This is all just in an open vision. And I ran over to Jesus, and he just grabs me in that moment, and we just lock eyes. And as we lock eyes, they become like boulders. His eyes become like boulders, and they begin to roll into my heart. There's no other way to describe that. And I was overwhelmed by the love of God and by the tangible presence of God in that moment. It's the first time I've ever had like a tangible love encounter with Jesus. And then I snapped out of it. And I remember just sitting there over on the right in the front row. Can't tell you what Bill Johnson spoke about that day. And then I was on my way out, and this woman, in typical, you know, presence fashion, prophetic culture fashion, just grabs me, and she just holds me there for about 20 minutes to her chest, this older woman.
Oh my gosh.
And after about 20 minutes, she just says, you found that secret place. You found that secret place. It was the first time that someone used that phrase, secret place. And what an incredible way to be commissioned into that. And so then I kind of walked away needing to process this. And so, you know, my prayer to God was, God, I feel like you have shown me the first breath of the resurrection, you know. That was powerful. Thanks for sharing that. But, you know, we know what happened in the scriptures, in the sense that you were laid to rest and 3 days later you rose, but we don't know how it happened and what happened in those 3 days. So, and I just asked him, why did you show me something that, you know, wasn't shown in the scriptures, you know, in terms of him raising to life and convulsing to life. And he said, because the tomb is an intimate place. And that's where I meet people each and every day to pull them out of their mess. And the power of the resurrection is 180-degree turnaround love power, that when my love steps into the picture, everything changes. And that spoke directly into the situation with my father, because my prayer for him was, I want him to know the fullness of your love, not just that he would live longer. and just the sense that the fullness of God's love is that it does not die. It's resurrection power. And so I came home, and long story short, to the doctor's word, his tumor had stopped growing in its tracks, and pancreatic cancer is aggressive, like one of the leading killers in terms of cancer. Yeah. Stopped growing in its tracks, started shrinking, and there were several encounters leading up to his healing, essentially, is what happened. But he had surgery, but leading up to the surgery, I had a cousin who had a dream that basically God had declared that he was going to be healed. And so my dad lived 2.5 years beyond a 3-month diagnosis.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Oh, it was incredible. And he passed away just after he had celebrated 50 years of marriage with my mom while I was on So You Think You Could Dance, which is another crazy story. But that was my commissioning into the secret place, was seeing Jesus wake up from the tomb. It was, to me, I call it a road to Emmaus encounter. I think we all have to understand what it is to journey with the risen Christ. And what it is to carry as we partner with Jesus, to know what we have in his presence, which is the resurrection power of God. And so that was my commissioning into the secret place. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Now, Joy, can you tell us the journey of this book? I mean, there must be an amazing, God journey behind what happened. Tell us.
Okay. So, well, I'll start with the fact that I've always loved to write. It's always been I guess a hobby, writing and reading stories is something I've always loved.
Did you train in writing at all? No. Just a passion.
Just always loved it. So, gosh, let's see. So in 2012, I went to Thailand on a mission trip with Nightlight International.
Oh, you've heard of Nightlight?
Yeah, so they're a fantastic organization. They work with women who have been sexually exploited through human trafficking. Yep. They're based in Bangkok, Thailand, and they help women out of the sex industry, and they help them through a restoration process and then give them tools to start their own jewelry making business.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, incredible organization.
Because it's a pretty complex journey.
Very complex, yes. And one of the greatest needs for women who are coming out of the sex industry is finding a new means of income.
Absolutely.
So, as well as the whole restoration process that they need emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, there is then a practical need too. And so the process that Nightlight have developed for women coming out of the sex industry is phenomenal. So it was a huge privilege to be able to go there in 2012 and spend a couple of weeks with the team.
Is this pre-Phillip days or post-Phillip days?
No, this was in the midst of Phillip days.
In the midst of Phillip days. Woo, I like that.
Well, we weren't engaged. We were dating.
Come on.
Yeah. But actually it was through Phillip.
How did you guys meet?
So we met 2006.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We've known each other for a long time. Yeah.
So I was 17, Phillip was 22.
22, yeah.
I was in the UK. I was working for Youth for Christ, which is another wonderful organization. Phillip was over, he'd just done a show in Paris.
And I met her through a young man that we had met at a conference actually on William Carey campus.
No way, here.
And so I went to visit him on the back end of working in Paris and going to Germany with my parents. And then on my way home, I stopped in the UK.
Because your mum's German, hey?
Yeah, that's right. She's from Germany. And so I went from seeing for the first time where my parents met, and then went to the UK and through my friend
met
my
wife.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh,
it was
that's
amazing.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Come on, guys.
So that's how we met. Yeah.
Yeah. So then fast forward to 2012.
Yeah.
I ended up in Bangkok, and so on the back end of that trip, I wrote about it, and I think I'd sent it. I sent basically like my experience, right? Yeah. My process to a few friends who've been supporting me, and a couple of who were Jonathan and Heather Bellamy. They run Cross Rhythms radio station in the UK, which is a Christian radio station, and they're like old family friends. I've known them my whole life pretty much, and they responded to my email and said, Joy, we would love to publish this on the website, because they have a section of the radio station's website which is given over to what they call life articles. So it's people sharing stories from life, basically. And I was
written word as opposed to spoken word.
Yes.
That's right.
So they put put it up on their website, which was a huge honor. And a couple of months go past, I get a phone call from a lovely lady who I assume wants to do an interview about my time in Thailand, right? So I'm chatting away to her on the phone, answering her questions. She's asking about the trip and like other things that I'm involved in. So I'm
But she had another agenda.
She did. I didn't even realize. So at the end of the conversation, it's probably like 20 minutes goes by. She just says, "So I need to, run this past management a second time, but we'd love to pursue a book deal with you."
Just like that?
You trying to play it cool. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, sure."
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah. So that was how it started. So that was 2012.
Yeah.
Kind of early summer 2012. So yeah, it was a gift from God, and that's really how I see it. Just this door opened, and I had the huge privilege of going down the publishing writing process with Authentic Media, who's my publishing company in the UK.
Oh, great name.
Yeah. Authentic. Yeah.
And so it got published I think it came out the end of 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's called Broken by Beauty.
Under your maiden name.
Under my maiden name, yeah.
Yes.
A lot of life has
So
happened.
what's your maiden name?
Farrington.
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 Farrington, darling.
Very English.
Joy.
Very
Farrington.
Thank you. Yeah.
So if we want to look for your book, is it on Amazon? How do we get it?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
You get it in America?
It's probably the easiest place to get it.
Yeah.
In the States. So Broken by Beauty under Joy Farrington.
Yeah.
And it really tells some stories from Thailand. Actually, the book starts in Thailand, but it is my journey of discovering God's heart for purity and his heart for sex and relationships, his original design for them.
Come on.
But then encountering dysfunction, disappointment, destruction really within sex and relationships, and then going on a process of restoration. What does justice look like when you've experienced abuse? And then really developing such a heart for other women who have experienced anything from abuse with a boyfriend right the way through to human trafficking.
Yeah, right.
And so the through line of the book is really telling my own journey of discovering God's heart and then going after it. But then also it's like pinpointed, if that's the right word, or dotted through with stories of other women that I've worked with around the world.
What she calls pearls.
Come on.
Yeah. So because
nice.
this has really been the last 10 years my main passion has been this topic of working with women who've been sexually exploited, seeing their lives restored, and really seeing people, regardless of their history with sex and relationships, seeing people discover God's heart for purity and going after that standard. So whether or not you've had any kind of messed up experiences, or whether you're a young person who's just discovering what it means to enter into a relationship with another human, right?
Yeah.
What does it look like to pursue a kingdom standard of purity? And so that they're all kind of weaved in the book. So so that's and that's still something I'm very passionate about, and I write on a regular basis through my blog and through other sites that I write for. So
oh my gosh, that's super inspiring. Yeah, so it's for anyone to read, really.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. And it's obviously it's from my perspective as a woman, but I also wrote it with the intention that guys would be able to read it too, and that it's from my perspective as a believer, but hopefully people who are on a journey of discovering God too will be able to find him in the midst of the story as well.
Gosh, it's so inspiring. It's so true. I think that, I don't know, there's a really amazing course that Bethel run called Love After Marriage. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
And that was very inspiring to do that course. We did it recently, and just to see that whole area of human sexuality in context of relationship and marriage, especially, and how that's a gift from God, and how it's almost like in some ways the church has left it behind. Whereas God wants that gift for his people. There's a holiness and a sacredness about human sexuality in the context of marriage, and that he wants to keep it and restore it, and for the church to have it, and use that wonderful
he created it for his glory. So actually it's not, we get to enjoy it and take great pleasure from it, and it's a gift that we get to give from one person to another, but it's also unto the glory of God as well, just like everything else he created, you know. And I think it's so heartbreaking that it's become something that's become so twisted, that it's become a product, and
the devil loves that. The devil loves that it's twisted and loves it, and he thinks he owns it, but he doesn't.
No.
God owns sexuality. It's not the devil.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And he's taken it back. And your book, that's, you know, and I think God's I've seen this. God is raising up people to as a voice to the believers that know sexuality is mine, says the Lord. And it's you know, don't let the devil take it, twist it, abuse it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a gift.
So good. Come on. So now, with you guys, you are walking with the Lord. The future is wide open.
Yes.
Tell us about what's happening. You're moving back to you live in New York, but your gear's packed up at the moment, isn't it? So you're So what's going to happen when you get back to New York?
Well, so we're for all intents and purposes, we're moving back to New York in January. I start rehearsals for a new Broadway show.
Are you allowed to say the name?
Yeah, I can say it. I'm going to be in Kiss Me Kate on Broadway.
Come on!
Yes, I'm excited. So
2019.
Yes.
If you're in New York City,
it's Studio
go and
54.
See Studio 54. That's the name of the theater.
Yeah.
At Studio 54, go and see Phillip.
Kiss Me Kate.
Yeah, Kiss Me Kate.
Yeah, I'm excited. So this is my 7th Broadway show. And
come on.
I'm excited. We're moving back to New York and gonna find a good place.
Yeah.
Right, get a Home Depot.
Exactly. Go to Home Depot.
Paint it.
You know, get it all going. Get a good place. So
there's still within the realms of what we know, there's a lot of unknown too. You know? So and that's part of the adventure of life, right? There's
absolutely.
You have those seasons where you know a little bit and you figure out the rest as you go. So I think we're in that, but we're really excited. And 2 years ago, we started a nonprofit called the Beauty for Ashes movement, and so we're excited to get.
Oh my
back
gosh,
to
you've started a nonprofit. Tell us about that.
So, and that's really in line with the Heart of Broken by Beauty, the book too. So the nonprofit is to help women out of the sex industry and really walk through life with them, have houses of restoration that they can go and recover in, but also rediscover their identity in Christ and be rebuilt up. Using creativity as a catalyst for that change and restoration. And so that is a New York-based nonprofit currently. So we're part of us going back into New York is also getting stuck back into that and revamping it, putting some more skin on the bones of the vision that we have. And so we're in a season 2 of really that's full of vision and really letting God pour into that and seeing what he wants to bring alive, you know, and you feel like you're planting a lot of seeds, seeds of vision, and this season of traveling a lot too has been a wonderful time to actually go on that adventure together and dream together afresh and just be expectant for what God has for us in the future as we step into it. So
it's funny how you know, being in different fields, but then also being in ministry, it always for me, it's an interesting conversation around compartmentalization. Because as an artist, I remember going to Bethel, feeling called to both the entertainment industry as well as ministry, and actually feeling called to both.
Absolutely. And
I remember,
it's a real thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but I remember feeling at the time like I had one foot in the entertainment industry and the other in the church, and I felt quite divided, and I felt like I was kind of standing on two drifting islands, you know, in the ocean. And Chris Valentin came to speak one day, and I kind of shared that sense of feeling divided and trying to figure out what it looked like to be in quote unquote both fields. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, all of the kingdom can contain the church, but all of the church cannot contain the kingdom. So I see you as having one foot in the church and the other in the kingdom.
Hang on. Say that again. I've got to get my head around this. This is a t-shirt. This is a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Come on.
All of the kingdom can contain the church, but all the church cannot contain the kingdom.
Whoa.
In the context that everything is in the kingdom, in the realm of the kingdom.
Yes.
And immediately, that was the beginning of that wall falling down from me, and I started to be okay.
Oh my gosh, that's so profound.
Isn't that really good? Yeah, that's Chris Valentin. I don't even know if he remembers that he said that. But it blew my world, like it rocked my world. It was the beginning of that wall coming down. And what I loved about that is from that point on, I was okay with being an artist to ministers and a minister to artists.
Yeah,
you know, and
come
because
on.
I'm quite passionate about performing on the Broadway stage and you know, being before cameras and planning nonprofits, you know, and the stuff that we want to do with Beauty for Ashes with my wife.
And you
but
minister to people too.
Exactly.
I mean, I've seen you, both of you, minister so beautifully. People, you have that pastoral heart to love and care and to bring healing and prayer and hope and restoration to people.
Yeah, we love speaking as well, and so. But I think one of the things we've been doing actually for School of Supernatural Ministry here in Southern California, we've been doing a creativity class, a school of creativity for the last 6 weeks, and I love that we have mostly people who would not consider themselves artists.
Right.
But what we kind of start from the get-go is just the sense that you may not be an artist, but you're creative. Like it's the first way in which God chooses to identify himself. In the beginning, God created, the first 5 words of the Bible.
Yes.
And a lot of times, though, you know, what I've encountered kind of navigating between like church circles and entertainment circles is that we can box ourselves in or box other people in based on what we do as opposed to who we do life with.
Yes.
And I think for me, creativity is at the heart of everything that we do. You know, creating with God, co-creating with Him in everything that we do. And and so that in some ways it has also been the journey that we've been on in this period of time when we've been moving around is figuring out, okay, like what is in us, what are the things that God wants to say to us, and not even necessarily in a context that or a construct that someone else has created, but what are the things in culture that we are personally meant to shift in partnership with the living God. And I think, you know, there are seasons where I believe that God takes us on a journey to take us out of what we've known and to begin to pour into us His vision for life. And so it's a vulnerable season, but it's a beautiful one because there at some point, you know, you have to take flight. You know, in terms of the unique things that God has to say.
Hey, another T-shirt. At some point, you have to take flight.
Yeah.
Whoa, that is a great T-shirt.
And so I think that's
what's that? 3 or 4 T-shirts over this podcast.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's where we are is we're taking flight.
Yeah.
You know, we're in some ways we've
such a place of
left
faith too, isn't
known.
it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, but I love it. It's like one of those days where...
And you got to be courageous to take flight.
Exactly. So, you know, and in those seasons, you really find out what you are passionate about and the things that, you know, as the scriptures say, you know, everything will be shaken. And there's in these types of seasons where you're moving around, you realize what is unshakable.
Whoa.
In your faith, and you're confronted by the truth of the gospel. You know,
especially with you guys moving around so much, you realize what's unshakable because when everything shakes when you move,
it's true.
In lots of different.
But there's things that don't shake.
That's right. And what's cool about that kind of season as well, you know, I really do feel like when we entered into the season, we didn't necessarily know what we were signing up for, in the sense that I do believe that God has had us this whole time, you know, in terms of moving around. But it is funny in conversations with people, you know, when we were over in Europe, basically we spent the whole summer in Europe, spending time with family, because we hadn't seen Joy's side of the family together in 2.5 years because I'd been working nonstop in the Broadway realm. And it's interesting, though, in terms of conversations with well-meaning people who will ask questions. And I get questions like, so where are you guys based? You know, and it was this sense of like, so what are you doing? You know, or where are you planted? Or what, you know, how can I help you? You're lost. You know, there are seasons where I believe, you know, I always say God is not concerned with our pride.
Yes.
You know, because there were well-meaning people asking questions, but if we weren't confident in who we were and who we are in God, would question us right out of our faith. In terms of the heart and where they were coming from, without having any context for what we were kind of moving through and walking through. And in the time I was going through the letters, and nothing was more encouraging than reading the words of Paul in the sense that I think there are seasons where we have to be confronted by the truth of the gospel, and what have you signed up to do, to follow Jesus or not?
Yes.
You know, and I think that has been a season of things being shaken and seeing what remains and being challenged in that as well. You know,
so healthy.
Yeah, it is healthy, and it's. I think actually then when you go back into a place, you know, like we're going to plant in New York in January, I think that when you go through a season of moving around with God and figuring out like what has remained, when you plant, it's good seed in good soil.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I think this has been an incredible journey, just, you know, doing family and doing life and kind of unplugging from the busyness that can be entertainment and doing things. And I feel like going back to New York, we have kind of fresh vision, you know, and even fresh dreams for what we're going to do. So
come on.
Yeah.
Hey, and talking about that,
yeah.
can we come to New York and do another podcast with you?
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
New York City?
Yes, you can.
Come
Yes,
on.
you can.
I got an idea today to do
Yes,
a New York series
Yes, let's
of
do it.
podcast, guys. So
Yeah.
that could be on the
That'd be
cards for 2019.
Yeah.
We want to come and do a podcast with you guys in New York because we're out of time now, I think. So,
Yes, you
and
can.
we have just scratched the
Yeah.
surface with you guys and what's
Yeah.
happening. And I know
Yeah.
I want to talk way more.
Yeah.
But quickly, as we finish up, favorite movie?
Ooh, Ben-Hur, the original.
Yes.
The original.
I haven't seen the new one. Did you see the new one?
No. I haven't got time for it.
No.
The
original's
the original
unbelievable.
is
Roland,
epic.
Roland
Yes.
Baker loves that. He gives it. Roland's
It's
always
really
talking about
good.
Ben-Hur.
Really? Oh,
It's really
it's my
good.
favorite.
I would say.
Come on, Roland's gonna love to hear that.
Yeah. Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that came to mind, and I think honestly, it's the reason why I started performing, why I started dancing, and so yeah, I would watch that over and over and over again as a kid. So.
And can you just, guys, what happened? You got to Google this on Philip's Facebook.
Oh yeah. So
he just shot the other day. I saw it on my Facebook. He shot a scene of him acting like the Gene Kelly role out of the gutter with the umbrella and everything, and he posted it. And Gene Kelly's relative?
Yeah, his widow saw it and posted it on the Gene Kelly legacy page.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, that was really fun. And
it got all the thousands of hits
It
and
was
everything.
amazing.
Go on, have a look at it. It's Philip doing his
awesome.
version.
Yeah.
That's so apt.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
hashtag Daily Dance It Out. I have do these little things called Daily Dance It Outs on Instagram. And
So follow Philip on
yeah,
Instagram.
Yeah. It's a fun little thing. I do little dance breaks every day, and one of them, it was raining the other day, so I wanted to do a little homage to one of my heroes. So yeah,
So good.
Yeah,
You don't get a chance to do that in LA much.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
You gotta pick your days.
I know. I said it's raining. We got to do it now, babe. Yeah. She did, bless her. She came out in her sandals and.
And you were the cameraman?
Yes,
Cameraman.
Yeah,
Camerawoman.
yeah.
Camerawoman.
She
Watch
did
it.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, favorite sound. Do you have a favorite sound?
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh. I might need a second.
Yeah, I would say my favorite sound is, I kind of have two. I like the sound of rain on a tin roof.
Oh gosh, I love that.
And I also love the sound of gut busting laughter.
Yes.
I do.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, I think in line with that, probably babies laughing,
Oh,
children
yeah,
laughing.
such
It's
a
probably
gift,
one of
yeah.
my favorites, I think.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the tea kettle boiling.
Oh yeah. That's
Oh,
right. You mean it
also-
whistles?
Oh yes,
When
because
it
you know that it's
whistles,
Yeah.
time.
I'm like, yes.
The tea's just around the corner.
Yeah.
My cup of tea's coming.
I
Cup
love
of tea is
that.
such soul food, isn't it? I
Yeah.
sometimes say you drink a cup of tea, it goes straight into your soul.
It is. That is English soul food.
Yes,
Tea.
it is.
Yeah.
Now, last question before we
Yeah.
go. When everything's said and done and your life on earth is over and you're going to face Jesus for the first time, what are the first words you want to hear him say to you?
Wow. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is well done.
Come on.
That's
Absolutely.
I do want to hear a well done. Yeah.
I think I want to hear I love you.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Gosh, that's like such a
It is
I
a
know,
good
sorry.
question.
that's such a flip
Yeah.
question.
I know.
What's your favorite sound, or what do you hear from when I hear from God when you?
I know.
Yeah, I want to hear I love you, because I feel like we get to encounter the I love yous a lot here on earth, but to hear it
It's good, babe.
audibly for the first time, that's That's homecoming.
It's a big deal.
Right?
Spoken word right there.
Okay. I want a big hug too. I just want
I
just want to
yes.
do a big bear hug.
Oh my gosh.
Like, oh my gosh.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Glorious.
guys,
Really
thank you
good.
so much
Oh,
for
our
coming on. I'm
pleasure.
so
Thank you
sorry
for
we're
having
out of
us.
time.
No, you're good.
No,
No,
this
it's
is
great.
It's
great.
so wonderful to have you, and we're going to be watching everything you guys are doing, and we're going to come to New York and see Kiss Me Kate
Yes,
come.
next year,
You're welcome.
2019, and yeah, it's been awesome, guys.
Thank you for
I
having
love
us.
you.
Do you want us to leave us with a blessing? Would you like to just pray for our viewers just
Yes.
quickly before we go out?
Yeah.
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 Do you want to pray? I think I may share a poem. So do you want to pray first? Yeah, and then I'll
Finish with that. Beautiful.
I was playing with being a poem.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah, I'd love to pray. Wow, God, I thank you so much for your presence and for your goodness. I actually just feel to pray a blessing over your family. I feel like just for every person who's watching this, no one is excluded from this, but I just bless your family.
Wow.
I bless your family of origin, and I bless your family that you are currently building. I bless you with intimacy and connection. I bless you with unity, and I bless you with love. Yeah, I just speak restoration and redemption. For those, I just see like a cracked pot that is being put back together with golden glue. There's a Japanese art form called Sintsugi, which does this, and they take old clay pots and then they restore them using gold, and they are worth far more than they were originally. And I just speak that over your families, because I feel like God is doing that work of restoration and redemption in your families. And so just receive that that word and that promise that it is happening.
So
And
good.
I bless your families. I bless those of you who are awaiting the promise of children too. I just bless you with new life and abundant life. Yeah,
Yes.
and just that family would become a place of unity and of promises fulfilled, and that we would turn what has I think often been associated with brokenness, that it would be known as a word that is associated with wholeness and completeness. And so I just bless your families, Father. I thank you for every family that is represented, that is watching and listening to this. And I thank you for your presence. May you envelop them in the way that only you can as our Heavenly Father. We love you, Jesus, and we thank you for your goodness and your faithfulness. In Jesus' name.
And just on the back end of this tomb encounter of seeing Jesus wake up from the tomb, God gave me a poem just from that moment of just getting hit with the first breath of the resurrection. And so I just felt the sense to release this poem called Alive. Something's happening. Something is happening to me. Like the surge of some electric jolt has struck a current through me. Like the key that Benjamin Franklin experimented with, I've been strung up on a kite and up and kissed a bolt of lightning, felt the power from the heavens transfer through me to the string. Waves of innovation zip-cording to earth. Now everything has changed forever. Something's different. There has been a shift in me. I can hear the world crying out for each and every gift in me and lifting me to a new place to face every call on my life and embrace the future. I'm not afraid to dream now. When I close my eyes, I'm learning to trust the unseen now. I can move foot to pavement, running with zeal. Any weight that I had is gone, and I can feel a bit stronger. I'm ignited to the core. All-consuming flames of passion can't be put out anymore. I'm Pinocchio when everything wooden became the flesh, and Cinderella when she got her dress in. I'm the monster Frankenstein resurrected. From the depths of the grave, I've been projected. From the depths of the grave, I've been projected. From the depths of the grave, I've been projected, been strung up on a kite and up and kissed a bolt of lightning. Felt the power from the heavens transfer through me to the string. Waves of innovation zip-cording to earth. Now everything has changed forever. I am alive.
Sorry. That was my tummy.
Perfect timing.
You might have heard that, but my tummy, this is the end of that. My tummy went, a zip cord. It was the zip cord sound effect.
It was
my
on
went,
cue. Oh my gosh, perfect. In silence. Oh my gosh, that was brilliant.
I thought you want to pretend no one heard that. No, everybody heard that.
Except everything tonight, I think, right?
Exactly.
I was
Come
like,
on, Diane. Yes.
Yes, that was amazing.
A little gift. An extra gift.
That was amazing. Oh my gosh, you're red. That's awesome.
That was epic.
That was amazing.
So good.
Perfect
Your stomach
timing.
just applauded.
It was like, I'm moved. I'm moved by that poem. That prayer and that poem.
Yes.
That was a killer combination, guys. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for listening. I hope you had an amazing time. We're going to New York to film these guys. Go to New York, see Kiss Me Kate in 2019, and we love you, and we'll be back with another episode of Iris After Hours very, very soon. Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.
Ciao.
This podcast is presented by Iris Global. For more information or to support the work of Iris Global, please visit us online at irisglobal.org.